But a lot of times you're like, hey, this is my idea. And then I tell you, and we've done a little bit, maybe you've done a little bit, and I'm waiting for your feedback, right?
Right.
The reality is it's not your idea, you know what I mean? And it's not your world. So to expect you're going to get positive feedback, but really it means nothing until you just go do it.
Change is inevitable. Like every success happens because you changed something and it was a fear that was within you.
Motivation only lasts for a short amount of time, but discipline is what carries you forward.
I can't do this on my own. Period.
Are you looking at your business in terms of emotion, or are you looking at your business in terms of what's practical?
I still believe that America is the best country in the world. Where can kid of immigrants with no education become a physician?
This is Small Business Celebration, where we're celebrating small businesses for big breakthroughs.
Welcome to another fantastic episode here on Small Business Celebration. We're going to be talking about trying to accommodate your customers too much and how to avoid that. We're also going to be talking about making the complicated simple. And of course, we're going to be playing the Visioneer Game. And our guest this week is John Krum and Neil Knaak of AgProz. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And for Visioneers who don't know who are you and what is it that you do?
My name is John Krum. I'm the CEO, and AgProz helps from a software solution companies and individuals identify ranchers and farmers based on crop type, acres, and everything in the above. Pre-populated CRM is a fast way to think of us.
Yeah.
And you, Neil, deal with the money side of things. You're the CFO.
Yeah, that's one of the hats, yeah.
One of the many hats that you guys have. For the Visioneer farmer, rancher, grower out there, there's a real intersection that's been happening for about the last decade or so between agriculture and tech. And both of you are sitting right at that intersection.
Me and Neil have been in the ag industry combined, I think, for over 30 years now. And we've both been in sales and both been very integrated. He's a family farmer, and I've just been a guy that's been in sales forever. And we saw kind of a gap between information of growers and farmers and the information back to the companies and kind of how to manage that and really make efficiencies between allowing companies to be able to reach growers better and then also not waste the time of the grower by making sure that the right guys that have the right tools can get in front of the right growers. So we save growers time of getting bugged, and then we empower the sales team and salespeople, individuals, in order to make sure that they're in front of the right people and not wasting their time also.
Explain for the novice out there how your program or how your software operates, because it works on a mobile device or on a desktop. And what is the user able to pull up, and what information are they able to glean using your guys' software?
So the gap or the need that John saw and I myself had as a sales rep was kind of exactly like you said. You're going down the road, you see an orchard, you see a vineyard, and a lot of times your product and service, you can help that guy. You're in sales long enough, you can look at a field and go, say it's a guy with like fertilizer, you might see a nutrient deficiency for an example. And you can just spot that. But the question is, who's farming that? How do I help this person? How do I reach them? And so really there is not any tools readily. I mean, there's some real estate and there's even like a hunting deal some guys use, but it doesn't really give you the information you need to go make a relationship.
Give us an example of how that works.
Sure. So there was actually a vineyard back in my direct selling days that I passed all the time. Beautiful table grape. It was a city next to mine, and I was just like, who owns that? I don't know. There's no signs. There's nothing. Finally, I'm heading to a meeting. I'm late, and I see a guy pull in. So I flip a U, get on the road, chase the guy down. Doesn't speak a lot of English. But through my bad Spanish and his poor English, we figured out that it was actually an investor doctor in LA that had a farm, and it was only about 10 acres. So my product that I was selling wouldn't fit a 10-acre guy. It's more for the larger commercial. So I had spent all that time and energy rubbernecking on that guy, trying to, who is that? And you can't, you really can't go on Google and say that piece of property, who's managing it. And so had I had AgProz, I would have made that decision or had the knowledge to know that it's not a fit. I can't really help that guy. My product wouldn't be good for him. He could buy it, but it's not the best tool for 10 acres of I mean, they were beautiful table grapes, but So it saved me from, spending all that, even mental energy of like trying to figure out who it is.
You grew up on a farm.
Yes, sir.
What kind of a farm?
Peach farm.
Yeah?
So we did peaches, plums, and nectarines.
Why did you choose not to stick with a family business?
You know, my dad was he was a good grower. He was also a high school teacher as well. He sort of had 2 jobs running. He didn't quite have the lens of a businessman and a farmer. I would basically have had to get a day job to support the farming habit, right? And I loved it, and we still live on the farm. We're surrounded by, most of our property. A lot of it's sold still, but even the blossoms this morning are it's the most. I love it. It's amazing. But it's really tough for that mid-sized farmer in this day and age. Really, you got to have, at least in the peach stone fruit arena, you need the fruit, and you need the packing, and then you need the sales. If you have like those 3 components, those guys can make it. But we were just the growers and the packers. We lost money when we sent it to the cold storage to pre-cool, which charge. Sales, there's a charge, and so it's just tough. It's really hard for that family farm. And we had some relatives involved, so there's just a lot of hands in the pot. And it made sense. And a quick end cap at my mentor. I'm like, what do I do? What's next? And he says, I don't know any other profession. And I built my, kind of fortune on sales. It's helping people. You set your own destiny. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And so I jumped in. I went into ag sales.
You, John,
Yeah.
you're a city boy.
Seriously?
Yeah. I don't like the way that sounds. I live in the city.
You live in the city. But what were you doing before this?
I went to college for a couple years. I jumped into
Fresno State?
Fresno City. I was
Fresno City,
trying to figure it out. I had no idea. I felt like when I graduated, it felt like everybody had it all figured out, and I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Sure.
So I was like, go to city and try to figure that part out. So I was 19, and I ended up getting my life and health license.
Okay. And what's a life and health license?
Life and health insurance.
Okay.
So at 19, I was, selling life and health, and people thought I was crazy because, that's an interesting age to sell life and health. But
Sure.
I got into that, and I was in that for quite a few years, and I did a little bit of property and casualty, not a lot. And then from there, I had an opportunity to work at a John Deere store. I'm a big relationship guy. I love people, and when I was able to step into ag, and I had some of my family farmed, but I wasn't connected to it.
Right.
But when I stepped into ag and I realized that it was about relationships and handshake deals on hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Right.
and that stuff still mattered in an industry, like I just fell in love with it. So once I got started in ag, I thought, man, this is the spot for me. And luckily it's where I met, Neil, we met in Florida driving tractors.
Wait a second here, I have to stop you.
Yeah.
2 guys who live in Fresno.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, Visioneers, we're in Fresno, California for this episode. You guys meet in Fresno. I mean, you live in Fresno, and you had to go to Florida to meet each other.
Yeah. He worked for a John Deere store here in Fresno. I worked for one in Madera.
Okay.
And they'd send you to these trainings where they would show you new equipment, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm not sure if I should tell the full story. We're not held liable for it.
Well, yeah. What's the?
He tells it really well.
Well, we're just on a tram,
Yeah.
and I've always looked for guys that just have a little bit more energy. I kind of call them horses. I love it, because you look for people who are going somewhere, and I could just tell this guy. I mean, he had a spark about him. There's a group of guys. We're all. I mean, this thing you got to understand was people from all over the world,
Right?
And so we're sitting next to each other and where are you from type of thing. And he's like, oh, you know, in a small town in California.
Yeah.
I'm like, try me. And he goes, Madera. I'm like, shut up. I'm like down in Reedley, Kingsburg. I'm like right there.
Oh, there you go.
We knew right off the bat, we knew we were close. Yeah, what's the statute of liability for?
So we hop in. I'm going to tell a story because it's fun and it makes sense. We hop in a tractor and a big track tractor pulling a huge disc.
Like stairs to get into it big.
And
Nice.
And he tells me, you know, I bet you won't 180 this tractor pulling a disc. And I said, really? And I don't like being asked, I bet you won't, or being told that. He didn't know me. He didn't know me at the time.
You always take a challenge when you.
And he's in this small jumper seat next to me with no seatbelt, right? And I'm in the driver's seat. And I yank on that steering wheel. I'm about to send him.
Oh, man.
I bet you sent you out. Yeah, about threw him out of the tractor. And we laughed so hard. And at that point, like, I knew we were going to be friends. I didn't know what capacity. But it turned out, like I said, we started connecting and realized that he was passionate and had good morals, ethics, and he was driven. So for me, like I said, that was a fit. Those are the people I like to associate with. And I ended up leaving John Deere and going as a rep for another company. And to be honest, I was struggling because I felt like I still wasn't where I wanted to be. And I was covering a huge territory, and quotas kept getting raised, and nobody wanted to give any tools to help the problem, right? Which is everybody wants more money. Everybody wants, faster results. But when you ask, like, great, how am I going to do that? They would say, just drive down more driveways. Well, you can only drive down so many driveways, right, a day. You can only go visit so many businesses a day.
And for perspective on this, it's because here in California, unlike other places, for you to go from driveway to driveway to driveway, it's not like going to a residential street where you're knocking on 20 doors in a block.
Yeah.
You're having to drive miles and miles from street to street.
Right. And identify, as Neil mentioned earlier, if it's even of value to drive down, right? So what I did was I started taking property tax information, and that helped me a little bit because I would understand a little bit more about who was in those areas.
Right.
I would take that information, though, then I would go home and I would spend all night till 11 o'clock at night doing research. So I would Google them, I'd Google these customers, I'd Facebook them, try to find out a little bit more about them, so I can come back and build a relationship. Well, I just hit a spot where I thought there's got to be a better way. I had an idea, and the idea was AgProz. I brought it to Neil because I knew he was really connected, and we were friends at this point. And I knew that he had a good tech lens. He does. He has and a good tech network. He really does. So I brought it to him. We had lunch. He calls me back the next day and he goes, John, I don't know what it looks like, but I want in. And now we have, we've helped thousands of users and hundreds and hundreds of companies. And so it's been a wild ride, but we're here, and we're here because of friendship and relationship. And we've heard a lot of horror stories about partnerships. Ours has been, we've had some challenges, but I think we realized, like to square each other up and we're honest. And if the vision and goal is the same, he has a saying that says the business doesn't care, right? So we just, what do we need to do to get through it, and then move forward and move on. So we're really good about that.
How are you reaching the farmers? And it's not digitally.
You're right. The world is evolving fast, and even a younger generation is coming into the workforce. As the demographic sits today, still that older generation is usually signing the check, and that's the guy. That's the guy that you really kind of reach and persuade if you do have a tech. Like John said, we work with hundreds of companies, and we've even tested ourselves internally. Some email, analytics stuff and QR codes and you name it. We've probably thrown at it. One of our users approached us and said, so just so you guys know, I've been doing mailers now for a couple years.
Like stuff that goes in the mailbox.
Snail mail.
Yeah, postcard size, print, pulled in your hand, get in the box, that little thing down by the road.
Yeah.
If you're in the country, you got a key on it, because somebody's going to be borrowing your mail. And so I'm like, well, tell me more, is that working? He's like, I sell out every year. So he sold trees, and he goes, I hit them once a month, twice in December, because that's kind of his go season. He goes, the only problem in this system is that most guys have to buy a list or go purchase it. They're expensive, and then almost instantly they're dating. If acreage change or somebody moves, that list is now kind of decaying just by time. So he said, you guys have the best data that I've seen. Why don't you do something for me? It worked. It was a success. We've done several now since that. We got guys, I'm not going to say everyone's an absolute home run, but we've had some where I got 9 calls last week. This just paid for this, program and 5 years of it, So you're right. And we do get some guys like, I don't think it'll work. I don't read mail.
Right.
It's like, I hear you, However,
Right?
Yeah.
our customers call us back and say, I just got $2 this morning, right? I mean, this is just, I mean, they're excited. It's bringing kind of some, fresh air into the business and giving it kind of a boost. So we're seeing it work.
Yeah.
It's just, it has value.
It's great to market in any way possible, right? So it could be social, it could be anything. If the sales team doesn't know who is seeing it and how to reach out, then there's a problem. So what we did was we took the direct mail approach, and then now we actually display it on the map of where it landed. So not only do you get to use our software to identify your territory, but now we actually show you with pins of where your marketing is going. So if you wanted to wait for 1, 2, or 3 to land on those customers and then send a sales guy out there to follow up, we're closing those gaps in order to build relationships.
And as you're growing your business using the AgProz app, you're getting more and more sales. Maybe it's time to buy a new house. And if so, might I suggest you reach out to Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty. Born and raised, never left Bakersfield. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. He's also the sponsor of our Visioneer question. And Visioneer Javier asks, we're finding that we're having to change what we do in order to fix our customer systems. How do you know where the line is between accommodating the customer and doing too much for them? You guys found this out the hard way.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah.
It's a great question if your heart's in the right spot. Because I think that sometimes when you have a product or service, it's true that you should always go above and beyond for your customers.
Right.
But you cannot afford to do it if you're losing money financially.
Sure, right. You have to know when to say when.
You have to know when to say when. So I think you really have to identify and be honest with yourself. Is this, am I doing this because it makes me feel good, or am I doing this really because it solves a problem of the customer? I think that, to me, that's the separating line. There's times that people will ask questions. Can you guys do X?
Right.
Well, the reality of the world is the answer is always yes.
Right.
We can.
Right.
The two
But
things.
Yes, but should we?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if we did, would you even use it? We've done projects, right, Neil? People have paid us for projects inside of our app, and then we find out that it's something that they don't even end up leveraging. So how good an idea? I think with better questions, you can identify.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How much value that person is actually looking for, that is
Right.
your customer, and then really what your next steps would be. I don't know what else you would add.
Yeah.
You get this question all the time.
Quite a bit.
Sure, right.
No, he does.
Yeah,
He does.
yeah.
You really just got it not that long ago,
Yeah.
too.
Well, so I'd also answer, as at least in the software world, a good resource is a book called Rework.
Okay.
Early days of our building, we were both read it. One of their principles, which is a good kind of thought process, is they said when you're talking to customers and they have issues, don't write them down, because you kind of get married to it, that problem and that customer. They say just start listening. And it's the things you hear 5, you hear 10 times, 15 times.
Right.
Fix those, not for the one guy
Yeah.
that has the issue. And I would say the other thing, we've had some clients say, hey, we could really use this. Okay, tell us more, what's really going on. And if they're that passionate about it, we can fix this, but we need a partner.
Right.
Yeah.
You sound like this could help. And it's really worked well.
Yeah.
They come and so they finance
Yep.
the issue. And so we get to obviously keep it and help others with it. So that's kind of very
I think
clearly.
that's a great. If they're really that interested in you solving their problem, then they'll probably buy in, as Neil
Right,
said.
right.
Right? That's a great way to look at it.
Okay, if I don't ask this question, I'm probably going to get 1,000 DMs on this.
Ask it.
When you guys have to make a change on the app, how much does it cost you?
Oh man.
Oh, we see the sweat dripping already. But that's part of it. Is
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
so you've got all these customers, and you've taken the survey, and you start hearing the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
And can you make this
Yeah.
change? Can you make this change? How much does it cost you to make that change?
Well, give a little kind of fun shock value. And I don't discourage people from doing this.
Right.
And so you hear these numbers, and it doesn't mean you got to write that check tomorrow.
Right.
But so we have a team of guys that develop for us. One is the project lead. So we typically talk with him, and then he kind of doles out and oversees the project. But our joke is anytime we say, hey, we need X, Y, Z and this to function like that, it's usually going to be like $120K is the joke, right?
$120,000.
That's
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the number.
Yeah.
And so if it's less than that, we're happy. But again, that doesn't mean like we got to come up, with half down now.
Right.
But that's over time, and he can't, wave a magic wand and create the product either. So
What's the lead time on something like that usually?
oh gosh, it wildly varies.
Wow.
They're going to tell you 2 weeks, but it's never been 2 weeks.
6 months to a couple of years.
Yeah.
Wow.
At the same time, like, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. But what should be clarified, two things is if you have an idea for an app, you can find people that can help get your MVP done a lot cheaper.
MVP?
It's your minimal viable product.
Okay.
Yep. So I won't dive too deep into it, but you need to identify the core solution of the problem that you're solving. Right. And that should only be a few things. And don't tell it to a million people, because they will just add millions of things onto those few things.
Here's the floodgates. Watch them open.
So identify.
Or try and go do it, right?
Yeah. Identify the real problem that you're solving and the few things that you can build in order to help do that. Okay. So once you have that, you can do what we did.
Yeah.
And what we did is we found, I would just say, some guys that were early in their career, and this is through we've had multiple runs in on the coding side. Some Microsoft guys that didn't give us anything, a team that took some of our money and ran.
Wow.
And he pulled a loan, and I leveraged a vehicle in order to get started in this.
Right.
We started with $14,000.
Wow.
That's what we started with.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I say that like the 125, he is right. At the same time, if you're resourceful enough and you're willing to build relationships, you can get your core product. We started with one county, Fresno County, and I would say when we were done, probably right around 30,000. Is that fair to say?
It'd be that neighborhood.
Yeah, I would have to look back, but probably right around there. So, and we had one county identified to prove our product was valuable.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to discourage any, because the apps are cool, right? Everybody wants to build an app.
Yeah.
But I will say, in the app space, if you don't absolutely believe in your mission of what you're trying to do and the product in the problem you're trying to solve, I would encourage somebody to probably go do something else. And I only say that because the software coding world, if you don't absolutely love it, we just talked to a company way bigger than us, and they were going through pain and problems and struggles, and it's what you're going to have to face. So there's a lot of things that you have to learn along the way, and so you better love it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, and we do.
Yeah.
So it makes it all worth it for us to make sure that we're jumping through those hoops, and building the best product that we can.
And that brings us to the Visioneer Game. Now, if you're not familiar with the way the Visioneer Game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone, and I have no idea what random words are going to come out of thin air. But more importantly, neither do they. And they've got to somehow take one of three words that I give them and somehow transform that word or associate it with their business. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right. Our first word is learn.
If you don't understand that, you should forever learn.
Very good. Well, score one. Word one. Congratulations. Okay, and our second word is chimpanzee.
Oh, man. So if you don't have a plan and a process,
Right.
at least in your sales arena, you might as well be working with the chimpanzee.
I like that. It's a new
Because you're going to be chimping everywhere.
Love it. Score two for you. Well done. I love it. Okay, and our third word is athlete.
Ooh,
Oh man.
that's good for him.
Yeah.
So he's
I'm thinking.
seen a gym here and there.
Yeah, I would say you need to treat your business how you technically should treat your body and how an athlete would treat his body, which means you should always wake up early, right? You should always outwork your competition, and you should always like be willing to put everything on the table in order to be the best and win. That's the goal, and that's what I would say about being an athlete.
Congratulations, 3 for 3, both of you. Well done.
We won.
Well, and this being an athlete and being the first to arrive and being the one that's always out there and getting it done so that you can win, what is the definition of winning?
Sometimes I think we associate winning to what other people tell us, but I think winning is something that you need to identify internally first, because if you don't feel like you're happy with yourself and the direction you're going, and you're trying to appease other people before you appease yourself, I think that even getting to your business and trying to have, focus and drive in order to win that is going to be very difficult. So being honest with yourself, right? Not doing it because of your parents or your wife or your kid, which are all beautiful, important things, but really feeling like you're adding value to something, or to somebody, that you get to go home and be the best version of yourself, and then everybody else gets to reap the benefit. So I indirectly answered it about business because I believe that it truly does start with you first. Me and him know, right, that it's about our core, right? It's about his faith and the gym, and it's about my faith in the gym, right? And we may not exactly align, and we don't need to, because it's for him and it's for me. And when we come together, then we're the best for our business. Outside of that, winning looks like doing the best you possibly can, I would say, in order to achieve and solve people's problems, take people's pain away. And I think if you could take people's pain away and make them a little bit better, make their lives a little bit easier, simpler, faster, so that they can enjoy the things that they want to enjoy, to me, then that's what winning looks like.
Was this something that you've learned over time with the business? Or is this something happened early on in the business that you wish you did differently?
There's no direct manual for this. We have a lot of internal sayings that help both of us. One is bias for action. It's actually from the Marines.
Right.
And it's when in doubt, do something, right?
Even if it's wrong.
Even if it's wrong,
Right.
Because it's still movement.
Right.
And
Yep.
just sitting there and discussing, and we can whiteboard and we can theorize and guess, but until you actually go do something, even if it's wrong, you're just never going to move. And so I'd say for us, just understanding that there's going to be a lot of bumps on the way, and some of the hardest sells for both of us is, to the wives, and they're asking, "What is this thing you're doing?"
Right,
it's like,
sure.
no, we promise someday it's gonna
Someday
it's gonna be a
work.
thing. Yeah. People will want it and actually pay us money for it.
Right.
It's a place now. I absolutely love what I do. It's crazy that this is work sometimes.
Give us a story of one of the biggest things that went wrong.
I had a friend, and when he called, he said, "No, any developers?" It's like, yeah.
Computer developers, programmers.
Developers, yeah, because neither one of us are coders.
Right.
I like the more tech stuff maybe more than he does, or whatever. Everybody has their strengths, and more the nerd, right?
Right.
And that's okay. It's
Good at it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm a good nerd. No, I've always, even in my consulting days, I like ag tech.
Right.
My dad was a little adverse to it, so to me, I was like, there could have been better tools, and there's new stuff coming. So that's always excited me. So we approached a friend in a company, and like you said, we got taken for a good chunk, and that was hard because not only did we not get a product, but we owe these guys money, and so
a lot of money.
that we didn't have.
We didn't have.
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, he's leveraging vehicles, and I'm paying money that it's just not in the. And so again, to the sell of the wife, right? Like no, we got to keep paying this.
Right.
What I have gone back and said, hey, don't do that. Probably in that case, but we learned a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And we grew, and each time it's a stressor, like exercising, right? You have to stress the muscle before it grows.
Right.
I'd say a business is very similar. You got to
Mm-hmm.
definitely take the hits, but keep your eye on the goal and the prize, and know that you end up kind of right where we are, doing what we love.
Yeah, it's hard to think. It's hard if you have to know that it's going to be hard, and everybody's hard is going to be different.
Yeah.
But like if we talk about, like, if we would have got money right away, we would have never learned. We would not stand today in front of you as strong as we do and believe in our product probably as much as we do.
Yeah.
If we would have just got money and thought that was going to solve all the problems. The reality is that would have solved one problem, just the money problem.
Yeah.
Right.
But, and then I think for me, like a real quick one that I learned through the process was I kept trying to resell our vision and idea, even though I believed it and he believed it. We were like waiting for other people to believe in it as much as we did. And the reality is no one's going to believe in it as much as you do until you do it. Then people are like, oh my gosh, like you're doing it or you've done it.
The proof is in the pudding.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're like, hey, this is my idea. And then I tell you, and we've done a little bit, maybe you've done a little bit, and I'm waiting for your feedback, right?
Right.
The reality is it's not your idea, you know what I mean? And it's not your world. So to expect you're going to get positive feedback, but really it means nothing until you just go do it.
Right.
And I think there was a season where we waited a little longer than we should have. To his point, we should have just been biased for action from the beginning. But we had to learn that. You know what I mean? We really did. We had to learn that. And then one other one that I'll give you, because it's one that we really like, is anything bad that happens to us.
Yeah.
And it does, right? Not everything is great. We
Daily.
say good. We say good. It is clockwork. Right now we can get something and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we'll both look at each other and say good. And the theory behind that is
Jocko
Willink. Yeah, is the guy. He's an ex-Marine also. So we steal these things from people.
You
Borrow, yeah.
All good
It's
art.
stealing.
His theory behind it is there's some good there. You just haven't seen it yet.
Right.
If we only focus on the bad, then we're just going to get more of that. If the moment we say good, our brains switch to we don't know what it is yet, but we'll find it.
Right.
That's so. I think the other small thing is like don't think that every company is going to lead or every person or company is going to lead you to like this exponential growth.
Right.
We banked on that a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Our first interactions were like, man, we're dealing with a couple $billion companies, and we're like, this is going to skyrocket us.
Right.
And
This is it.
We've made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I haven't seen that in anybody's company now that we've been through it. It's a steady, long-term burn and proving grounds, right?
Grind and grind.
In order to get it.
Yeah.
And so I think there was some expectations that we had early on that I would say others hopefully don't put on themselves and just go out there and do it.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
And if you're taking that marathon and you're winning that marathon, you might want to go ahead and think about a new house. Yes, it's a very bad segue into our next question that is sponsored by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty. Been in Bakersfield since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com. Visioneer Darcy asks, we are in a very technical business and it's easy for our salespeople to get lost in the details with the client. What techniques do you use to help the team take the complicated and make it simple to understand?
It's a simple answer that we may say, and I think you'll see what he says.
Right.
But when we built it, and we read it out of a book or pulled it from somebody, once again, borrowed knowledge, right?
Right, stole it.
Perfect. No.
But when we were building it, when we were building our product, which is, like I said, a tech, product, we agreed that if a 6-year-old couldn't pick it up, read it, and understand it, and operate it,
right,
that we were probably over the line. And it has nothing. No relation to the intelligence of our users.
Right.
But the reality is I've used complicated products and I don't want to use them.
right,
Whatever the fastest way you could deliver your product or service, and once again, and alleviate what they're trying to get rid of,
right.
That's the goal. So we have had many, many conversations, right? It's like, hey, could my kid pick this up and use it? Could my kid grab this and understand what's being communicated?
But how did you figure that out? That's the key. That's the $3 trick.
Yeah.
Is you have this very complicated thing, but how do you go through and say, okay, we're going to talk about this and this and this, which equals that?
We broke down layers. If remembering it right, even our coding team now, which are amazing guys, they code for different industries,
Right.
and when we look at something, if you have to go, so this could be related to anything in life, I think, but if you have to go more than 2 layers into a question, a problem, or a an operation, whatever it is, and I have to explain that to you, you're starting to lose, you know what I mean? You're going to start to lose interest very fast into how I solve your problem, right? So I think communicating right away, like, this is the problem that we solve. So how fast can you do that? And we see that happen all the time. Like Neil said, we deal with a lot of tech companies also.
Right.
And they want to be insanely wordy. And we try to educate them all the time. And I would say this to anybody in any industry. Like, most people, I hate saying it this way, but most people don't care how wordy you are. Once again, it comes down to, what does your product or service solve or what pain does it take away? How fast can you break that down?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't need the formula, calculation, data points. It's, do you help me or not? Right? So when I think of simplifying, to bring it all back, is like, how fast can you make me feel like I care about you, and how fast can you explain the problems that you're going to actually take out of my life? Now I'm willing to spend money, right? Then that's the easy part. And then once again, if it's any sort of operational thing, how simple can it be? And to your point, like, how did we do that? We would literally sit around and go, I mean, we would sit there and go, that's one more press of a button in our app. No, remove that. That goes here.
Right.
Right. And then our code team would say, well, that's not how so-and-so, we don't care what so-and-so does.
Right.
So-and-so's not in our industry, right? So how fast can we do that? And I think that in any operation, that's what it should be. That's how you get efficiencies, right?
You can out educate a customer out of a sale. Right? They have an issue. And if you keep doing and this, and this, and this, they don't care. This is my problem. This hurts. Fix this.
Right.
So we try to really simply just get to the root of the issue, fix that, and get out. You can only mess it up after that.
Is the American dream dead?
No.
Why not?
You're looking at it. And the dream is also what you make it to. You know, like we talked about earlier. You know, I've had a mentor for years, and he says the goal is to be wealthy, and that's not always money.
Right.
So, you know, here we sit. John had an idea. You know, I had some resources, and it's been awesome. I wouldn't say I have my private, you know, custom-made boat yet, but you know, that's also something to dream for and get to. And the boat is I mean, I got an older boat, you know, that runs great, tosses the kids around. That's success for me right now. Now we have goals and we have, you know, things we're going to get to, but you know, we struggled at it, got after it, and we live in one of the best countries in the world. I believe it.
Well, I'm going to take a different spin on it because I've heard this and I believe it. You know, I have friends that watch business owners and, you know, watch me, and I'm sure he has them too. And they couldn't ever imagine putting themselves in a business owner's position.
Right. Sure.
So I think first, if you're struggling, be honest with yourself and like, is this something that you truly want? I think that's fair. You don't have to force yourself to do it if you know what I mean. If you're really not reaping any benefit from it, like saying no and walking away from something could be the greatest thing in your life. So you don't always have to feel like you're a failure. You're not a failure until you die or quit, right? Like, and quit, it's not quitting. If you left your job, if you left your business and you became a high level, you know, tied to another big company, like that could be a win for you and your family. So I would say that first to set it up, to then say, if you're struggling, you need to find good people to put yourself around.
Absolutely.
I can't say that like enough. Like, it helps. We're partners, and like I said, we're cut, you know, very similar in a lot of ways, but we're a lot different too. But man, if I'm going through something or struggling, and I talk to him, like he can help me feel better. You know, Jared can help me feel better. I have outside. I used to fly to Texas or fly to St. Louis to go be around other business owners to get lifted a little bit, you know, because you're gonna get kicked in the teeth. Like, it's part of the process. You're gonna get kicked. You're gonna get beat up. You need to look at your friend group, and you need to look at the people that you're associating with, and realize and this is once again a borrowed Andy Frisell. He says, "Are you a propeller or an anchor?" So, are your friends and family a propeller or an anchor? You may not like the answer, but it could really fast separate who you are spending a lot of your time with. And we always hear like that you're the average of the 7 people, and I believe that. It doesn't mean that you have to remove them.
It might.
But if you're trying to do something great, and you know that you're around people that aren't, I can tell you the outcome. And you know, so that would be number one. If you're around good, motivated, hardworking people, A, they'll never want you to fail, which is amazing. B, they will always help you lift you, right? And C, on the networking side, they will be able to connect someone that will be able to add fire to what you're doing and who you're around. Your business will grow, right? If you're willing to put yourself. It's going to be uncomfortable, but that would be my number one recommendation. Is, like I said, is look at your surroundings and make sure that you're putting yourself in better circles. They're out there.
Yeah.
Right? They're out there. And some of them cost money to be in, and some of them are really worth it. And some of them could just be someone that really has your back and, you know, wants to see you succeed.
Gentlemen, this has been a real treat. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
It's
for
been
having us.
awesome. Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And if Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, easiest is probably just the website. So it's AgProz
With a Z?
With a Z. AgProz.com. Both our emails. Mine's Neil, Neil, at AgProz, and JOHN.
At AgProz.
We're both on social.
Yep.
Instagram, just Neil Knaak, Knaak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Finish that.
How do I spell my
Yeah, his is
name?
difficult.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit too. You can find me there. So
Yep.
I think those are the main.
LinkedIn has our company. We have a company profile. We have Neil's on there personally. I'm on there personally, John Krum. And then my Instagram is John Krum _. Those are probably the 2 most places we're at. We do have a podcast, Podcast. I hope it's okay to plug that.
Plug away.
And we're pushing on it, and we hope to have you on it.
Oh, be happy
sometime
to.
soon
Be
if
happy
you-
to.
if
I
you,
can screw that up 3 ways from Sunday
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. It won't be as nice as this. You do a really good job.
So I'll
thank you.
do some slumming, you know? That's good. That's good. Get to the roots.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you do 265,000 or so. You would be polished as well.
Well, you do a great job. Yeah,
thank
I
you,
appreciate
thank
your time.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody, and we always do. I will say this to your audience: we believe that we're connectors in an industry, so we are very tied to the ag industry, and we love good people. So if you're one of those people and you're looking for someone, you know, we have busy lives and things going on.
Yeah.
But we're really good at connecting dots with people. I would say some of the best in our industry at connecting dots and trying to help people win. So
Very good.
reach out.
Yeah.
And if you like Small Business Celebration, go ahead and like, subscribe, notify, and leave a comment. These guys are actually going to read the comments below. So go ahead and leave a nice comment, and they'll probably respond because I'll make them for you. And I'll be right back with my final thought. And if you like Small Business Celebration, go ahead and like, subscribe, notify, and leave a comment. These guys are actually going to read the comments below. So go ahead and leave a nice comment, and they'll probably respond because I'll make them for you. And I'll be right back with my final thought. Hey, Skull! Where can Visioneers go to learn more information about past guests on Small Business Celebration? Well, Skull, that's brilliant! smallbusinesscelebration.com/blog? Oh, that's perfect. And yet you too, Visioneers, can also go to smallbusinesscelebration.com/blog, learn more information about our past guests and things that they talk about so that you can grow a strong and profitable business. Simply go to smallbusinesscelebration.com/blog today. Making the complicated simple. Einstein had a problem. You see, he had just figured out the solution to his general theory of relativity, and he had figured out all the math, the pages and pages and pages of mathematical equations that proved his general theory of relativity. The problem was that even the most advanced minds of the day in quantum mechanics would have a hard time wading through this huge sea of mathematics to understand what Einstein was talking about. So Einstein started to think about it, and he said, well, a lot of it is the kinetic energy, the mass of something going, or the speed and the power of something going through space. And that's made up of the general mass of things and the speed of light, and he's trying to think of how to create the stepping stones across this great sea of knowledge so that the common person could safely reach the other side and understand what he was talking about. So he thought about it and came to the realization that if you have a piece of mass, something that's going through space, you figure out how fast that thing goes. Well, you just take the size and the density of the mass of this object and you multiply it by the speed of light and square the whole thing. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the theory of relativity. That's the solution, the mathematical solution behind the whole thing, also known as E equals mc squared. He had made the complicated simple. Now, as you and I go through our daily lives, thank goodness we don't have to think about quantum theory and quantum mechanics and quantum mathematics in our daily lives. However, what we do have to do is we run into people every day where we have this vast knowledge about what it is that we do or what it is that we're trying to accomplish, but the person we're teaching it to, yeah, they just don't have the bandwidth to understand what it is that we're trying to solve for them. So, what you and I have to do is simply go ahead in that great sea of knowledge that we have, pluck the highlights, the stepping stones that create the path to the safety of the other side, the highlights of the complicated to make it simple. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week with Knaak and John Krum, the owners of AgProz, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough. What farm animal keeps the best time?
I'm mostly good at these two.
What kind of farm animal keeps the best time?
I would guess a rooster just because.
To watch something.
Yeah.
Close, you're getting warmer.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I can get these literally.
How about a watchdog? Why can't you tell a border collie any sheep jokes?
Sheepish or.
No idea.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they've heard them.
There you go.
Shall we start? Sure. On that note, okay.
That was a good warm up.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Only uphill.
Didn't say they were good dad.
Yeah. Those are the best though.
All right. Welcome to Small Business Celebration, and we've got another fantastic episode for you this week. We're going to be